Navigating Australia's visa system can be a real headache, right? Especially when you're trying to provide a safe home for a child. Well, today we are going to break down one of the most important pathways out there, the Orphan Relative Visa, Subclass 117. We're going to cut through all the official jargon and give you a clear, step-by-step guide. So let's get right into it. So first things first, what's this visa really all about? At its very core, it's designed to do one crucial thing: give a vulnerable child a safe and, importantly, a permanent home here in Australia. The Subclass 117 visa is for a very specific situation. It's for a single child whose parents have sadly passed away, or for whatever reason just can't care for them, or maybe they just can't be found. And this isn't some kind of temporary solution. It's a permanent visa. It allows them to come and live with a relative in Australia for good. Okay, so once the visa is granted, what does that new life in Australia actually look like? Well, the promise here is huge. It really offers a solid foundation for the child's future. This visa brings some serious stability. The child can stay in Australia indefinitely. They have the right to work and study, and they can enroll in our public healthcare system, Medicare. It also opens doors to free English classes, the ability to sponsor other relatives down the track, and of course, the big one, the chance to apply for Australian citizenship. A question that always comes up is about travel, and the answer is pretty straightforward. The visa gives them a 5-year travel facility. This means a child can travel to and from Australia as many times as they want during those first 5 years, and they won't need another visa to get back in. So, what happens after those first 5 years are up? Well, there are two main paths you can take. The first one is to apply for what's called a resident return visa, or an RRV. That basically keeps their permanent residency and travel rights active. The other option is to go for Australian citizenship, which of course comes with an Australian passport. Now, here's a really important little detail, especially if you're thinking about that citizenship path. The clock on their permanent residency doesn't start ticking the day the visa is granted. No, it officially begins on the day they first set foot in Australia with this visa. That's the day that really matters. Okay, let's switch gears and get into the practical side of things, the logistics. What do you absolutely have to know before you even start the application, just to make sure everything goes as smoothly as it possibly can? Listen up, because this next point is a deal breaker. It is absolutely critical. The child must be outside of Australia when the application is submitted. And just as important, they also have to be outside Australia when the government makes its final decision. There's no wiggle room on this one. Now, let's talk about the cost. The base application fee you'll see is 1,980 Australian dollars. But, and this is a big but, that is not the total cost you should be planning for. That's just the start. Yep, on top of that base fee, you need to budget for a few other essential expenses. We're talking about things like mandatory health checks, police certificates from any countries they've lived in, and biometrics collection. And of course, there are extra charges for any other dependents on the application. Naturally, everyone wants to know, how long is this going to take? And while there are official processing time guides online, some things can definitely slow your specific application down. So what are the usual suspects? You know, the most common delays are often things that can be avoided. Little mistakes on the forms, forgetting to include a document, or even just paying the wrong fee. All of that can bring the process to a screeching halt. And if there's any information that's hard for the department to verify, well, that's going to add a lot of extra time too. This is a really key point for families. If you're applying for more than one child, say for siblings, you can't just group them together on one application. Nope. Each and every child needs their very own separate visa application. All right, let's jump forward in time. The application was a success. The visa has been granted. Fantastic. But what happens next? It is so important to understand the timeline and your responsibilities from here on out. So, you're going to want to keep 3 key dates in mind. First is the grant date. That's day 1 for that 5-year travel facility. Second is the first entry deadline. That's the date the child absolutely has to arrive in Australia by. And finally, 5 years from that grant date, that's when that initial travel facility runs out. And this is the bottom line, really, straight from the department. Holding this visa means you are agreeing to follow all of its conditions, and of course, to obey all Australian laws. It's a serious responsibility, both for the child and for their new family here in Australia. And one last thing, a quick note for our modern digital world. Don't go looking for a physical sticker to put in the passport. Australia's visas these days are all linked electronically to the passport itself. All the official details you need will be laid out in the grant notification letter they send you. So we've walked through the purpose, the process, the promises, and all the obligations. With all that paperwork understood, it kind of leaves us with the most important question of all, doesn't it? What's the next step in preparing not just an application, but a truly welcoming home?